Have you ever watched Inside Out and thought, hey, why are Riley's emotions a mix of masculine and feminine, while her parents' emotions are all one gender? Well, my friends, that choice wasn't random. Now, with Inside Out 2, the internet has gone wild with a new theory. Could it be that Riley is bisexual? Some clues dropped by Pixar have made fans wonder if this idea actually makes sense, or if we're just reading too much into things. And there's more. Riley's relationship with Val, the hockey player introduced in the sequel, has sparked even more speculation. But is Pixar really trying to send that message? Or are we falling into the classic trap of theorizing about even a character's shadow? Alright, now that we're diving into the theory, let's start with a detail many fans noticed way back in the first Inside Out movie. Riley's emotions are different from those of the adults. If you pay attention, her dad's emotions are all masculine, with mustaches and everything. Her mom's emotions are all feminine, wearing glasses and rocking the same haircut as her. But when you look at Riley, her emotions are a mix. Sadness and joy seem more feminine, but anger and fear have masculine traits. And disgust. Well, disgust is a whole different story. They come off like a snarky, judgmental little kid regardless of gender. This raised the following question. Did Pixar want to symbolize something with this? Could this mix represent Riley's sexuality still taking shape? Think about it. For all the other characters, the emotions match their gender. But with Riley, it's all mixed up. Maybe. But what if it's a subtle sign that her identity is still being formed? At the end of the day, Riley's still young, she's going through changes, and adolescence is that confusing phase where we're just beginning to figure out who we are. Could it be that her emotions don't have a defined gender because Riley herself hasn't fully defined who she is yet? Here's where it gets interesting. A lot of people in the LGBTQ+ community say they went through a period of uncertainty before truly understanding their identity. Could Pixar be subtly showing that through Riley? Val is an older hockey player, confident, cool, and popular. And guess what? Riley has no idea how to act around her. You know that feeling of nervousness when you're around someone you really admire, when you want to impress them but end up acting totally weird? Well, that's exactly what happens to Riley around Valentine's Day. She gets super anxious, stumbles over her words, and seems really concerned about what Val thinks of her. And that alone was enough for fans to start wondering, is it just admiration or a disguised crush? Because let's be honest, who hasn't been through that phase where you meet someone older, cooler, and talented and feel this weird mix of admiration and nerves? The big question is, does Riley want to be like Val or be with Val? If you think about it, this wouldn't be the first time Pixar played around with this kind of message. Remember Luca? A lot of people interpreted Luca and Alberto's friendship as a metaphor for coming out. Looking at Pixar's track record, if this theory about Riley turned out to be true, it wouldn't be the first time the studio touched on LGBTQ+ themes, even if subtly. For example, in Lightyear, there was a lesbian couple that even stirred up controversy in some countries. And in the Disney Plus short-out, Pixar introduced its first openly gay protagonist. And with Luca, even though the director denied that Luca and Alberto were anything more than friends, many people still saw the story as an allegory for LGBTQ+ identity. So in short, Pixar has shown that they're aiming to include more diversity, but always in a low-key way. They've never explicitly placed an LGBTQ+ character at the center of a story. And it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Inside Out 2 doesn't need to confirm anything directly. They could just be leaving things open to interpretation. That way, people who want to see Riley as bisexual can totally do so, while others might just see her as a girl going through the ups and downs of growing up. This balance helps Pixar avoid commercial backlash, while also letting different audiences connect with the characters in their own way. So, is Riley's emotional confusion tied to her sexuality? Or is it just part of the normal chaos of adolescence? Because think about it. We already know Riley's emotions are a mix, and she clearly gets super nervous around Val. But does that necessarily mean she has a crush? Or could it just be a phase of growing up, where Riley is still figuring out who she really is? After all, adolescence is a time when we all go through physical, emotional, and psychological changes. It's completely normal to experiment with different friend groups, interests, and even feel confused about our emotions, especially during adolescence. If you look at Riley's parents' emotions, they all share the same gender and even physical traits with them. But Riley's emotions, they don't have defined features yet. That could mean her mind is still developing, that her identity in many ways isn't fully formed yet. So maybe Pixar isn't trying to directly say Riley is bisexual, but rather show that during adolescence, nothing is set in stone. That could explain why some people see the possibility of a romance, while others just see strong admiration. At the end of the day, Pixar may have done this on purpose so that everyone can interpret it in the way that makes the most sense to them. Truth is, we don't have a definitive answer. The movie doesn't confirm anything, but it doesn't deny it either. And that, friends, is the beauty of fan theories. Looking at Pixar's history, it makes sense to believe they crafted an open-ended story, one that allows people to see it through their own lens. LGBTQ+ fans might see Riley as someone they can identify with, while others might just see a teen going through a totally normal self-discovery process. Could her relationship with Val be a hidden crush? Sure, but it could also just be admiration and a desire to fit in. And what about those mixed emotions? They might be a subtle signal that Riley's identity is still under construction, or simply a creative way to show that kids and teens are still growing up. So, in conclusion, does this theory make sense? Yes. But is it an absolute truth? Not at all. The best part is that it lets us see Inside Out in so many different ways, depending on our own experiences and interpretations. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you think Pixar really created Riley as a bisexual character, or are we reading too much into it? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit that like button, share it, and subscribe to the channel for more wild theories like this one. See you in the next one.